You probably recognize him as the host extraordinaire from E! News, but Ken Baker is actually a remarkable author of what, 7 books?
Something like that.
Something like that. He's lost track. But like all of us, Ken has gone through his fair share of challenges. He lost a father. Unfortunately, that's something that we have in common. A brain tumor, but luckily Ken was able to find his fix through writing. He was my strength when I was dealing with my dad's illness and the death of my dad. And now I want him to share his story to inspire you guys.
Ken Baker's having the time of his life right now.
KK is weed, fool. Reasons why you're not wavy. The major question, that is a shocking number.
Reporter and journalist for E! News, Ken Baker seems to have the perfect life. A loving family, great career, a best-selling author, but for this celebrity news expert, life hasn't always been on.
I just wanted to just numb out.
Right.
And who hasn't felt that?
Ken was diagnosed with a brain tumor that altered his perspective on life during a time most people are exploring their sexuality.
I was going through all these changes and I was strapped in my masculinity, and then it was given back to me, and then I had to figure out, like, well, who am I? What does it mean to be a man in society today? And we're all sort of struggling with our identities all the time.
It was that struggle that inspired him to write his memoir, Man-Made.
That was my first opportunity to take my own personal experience and try to relate it to people. It was so raw and so real, and I had to be so vulnerable. So I probably, just being totally honest, wouldn't write that book again.
But your style of writing is so unique because you write about either yourself, like being very, very honest, or you write about issues like, eating disorders, and you write about such raw topics. Like, when you're on camera all the time, do you ever feel like people are gonna look at you different now that they know a lot about you?
Like kind of what's going on, like, oh my God, he's got a lot of dark stuff up there. If I feel compelled to share, it's for a reason. Do I want to walk around and be like, hey, I contemplated suicide and I tried to off myself? And by the way, I didn't really, because if I really did want to, I just wanted to just numb out. If everyone's being honest, it's crossed their mind. And I think it's important to share that. If I'm writing about something that I'm struggling with, or that's fascinating me, or that somehow I want to figure out, then probably other people are going through that too. And if I'm doing it in an honest way, I think people will connect with it, or at least I hope they will.
Writing has always been a fix for Ken. One he was lucky enough to find at a young age.
I started keeping a diary when I was 11 years old, and at first it was just like this little journal that I wanted to keep to follow my hockey season. And then slowly my real life started to creep into what I was writing. Looking back on it, really, it was like an escape for me. It was a chance for me to just sort of say, okay, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of things going on. I'm just gonna stop, pause, and reflect. I would talk things through in my head a lot, but I was starting to put it down on paper, and it was really the most therapeutic thing I could do, and it's literally something I haven't stopped doing since.
But writing isn't the only thing Ken turns to. In fact, it was hockey that helped him first. Hockey was your fix. You wrote, they don't play hockey in heaven, and hockey was your fix.
Hockey's still my fix.
Hockey's still your fix. You still play.
Believe it or not. In pain, but I still play.
Hockey was your fix, but you had to walk away from it. And even though you still play now, how did you feel when you had to walk away from that fix that you had when you were younger?
I think a lot of athletes struggle when they're like, this is what I'm all about, and this is what I do, but there's sort of an expiration date on being able to do it at the level of competition that you really would love to do it at. Oftentimes it's the same way, maybe you're an actor or a musician and you sort of feel like, oh, I'm getting old, no one cares anymore. We sometimes have to redirect our passions.
For Ken, writing is his ultimate fix, his happy place.
It's how I get balance in my life, particularly after a long week, working at E! News. The weekends are a great time for me to recharge, reset, refocus, and get that zen time that only writing gives me.